Hey, what's up, everyone? A couple of little things to mention before this week's podcast. Number one, check out the SuperLobby blog. This week we've got some pretty interesting announcements to make regarding SuperLobby, in particular the launch of the mid-season NFL SuperLobby lowdown. You don't want to miss this one. You need to get yourself on our mailing list. If you're not already on it, just simply drop an email with your name to lowdown@superlobby.com. Number two, apologies in advance for the lack of video with our chat today. Hesh had some computer problems, had to race out to a local coffee shop where he was a really great sport, but unfortunately his video wouldn't work on his portable device. So we had to make do with audio only. Hopefully, the quality doesn't suffer for it. And if you can hear a barista in the background, hey, let's just say it adds some color to the vid. All right, we're going to dive on in.
Hey everybody, Christy Keenan here for SuperLobby.com. We have the weekly, daily fantasy soccer Premier League podcast for you. Couple of guests for your pleasure this week. We have my usual partner in crime, David Copeland, the CEO of SuperLobby.com. David, how are you?
Oh, great, Christy. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. And a shot at redemption for Hesh Hambazaza. Hesh, how are you?
I'm doing great, Christy. Thanks again for having me. And I'm ready and back to come in and redeem myself after poor showing last time on.
Well,
last time out.
We actually thought it was really unfair to only give Hesh one bite of the cherry because he drew the short straw last time he was on this podcast, in that he drew International Week, which is a really swingy, brutal slate. So we're giving Hesh a shot at the Premier League leaderboard here, and spoiler alert, looking at his team, I think he's got a fair chance at making a good run at the top spot. Which, David, who's currently in the top spot of the leaderboard? Can you remember?
No, I've no idea, to be honest. No, absolutely no. Can't remember.
I don't know. Some nobody in Edinburgh. I'm not sure who he is. Sorry, that's me, everybody. So if we can learn one thing from the fact that I'm currently top of the leaderboard, it's that I'd rather be lucky than good.
Ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? Hesh, first of all, give us a little breakdown of your lineup building process.
Well, my big thing for me is I want players who are going to start, obviously, and then I want players who are going to be favored. The biggest favorite on the board today is Manchester City. They're going up against Norwich at home. Yeah, and they have easily the best shot at winning this game of anybody in this slate. And on top of that, they're also at home. They're the only heavy favorite that's playing at home. So I've got four Manchester City players. I spread them out one in each position. I have I took Wilfred Boney and De Bruyne, Vincent Kompany, and Joe Hart. And beyond that, I tried to kind of spread it out a little bit. I liked Leicester City with their recent form, and they're on the road to West Brom. A lot of people, I think, will be a bit worried about West Brom with their their defensive acumen. But I think Mahrez and Vardy have been exceptionally well this year. And while I expect them to drop off, I know I've spoken about this in other places, like how I think, the rate at which they're shooting and scoring is not going to keep up all season. Maybe it's not this week.
Yeah, and it's actually funny because it can prove, I know it's an incredible long shot, but it can prove sustainable. Do you remember, guys, a couple of seasons ago, Newcastle had that unbelievable season. They finished 5th. And if you looked at the stats for that season, they scored, I'm pulling this out there, but it was something like they scored 1 goal for every 1.2 shots on target, or something like that over the course of the season. I mean, it was absurd.
Yeah. And that's the thing, they're getting a lot of shots. They're getting a lot of those shots on target, and they're scoring a lot of goals off of them. And it's just surprising how well that they have performed, even on the road. I don't put it past them to fall behind 2-0 and then come back and claw their way back into a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, they've done it a few times. Yeah, it's been ridiculous. So looking at your lineup, which I'm not going to spoiler too much for the viewers because we'll unveil that in a little bit. But what else goes into your lineup building process? What are the factors that you're looking for?
Well, with each position, it's different. With my goalkeeper, I look for the win and I look for the safety net of the clean sheet. If I want the safety net of the clean sheet, and I try not to spend too much. I don't like taking the most expensive goalkeeper, but I'm uniform across the board. I'll use one goalkeeper everywhere, and I'll try to just keep them as my main. That's actually the first spot I go to. Then I go to my forward position, and I will select 2 or 3 forwards that I believe have the best shots at goals. I'll try to get guys who've been taking a lot of shots, guys that are playing at home, or guys that haven't been scoring and would have been in a great position to score, like Harry Kane this last weekend. And for the midfield, I usually just try to either pair a player in the midfield with my forward for that correlation, or I try to go for the midfielders who are underpriced but should overperform.
Looking at your lineup this week, okay, so if we do spoiler it a little bit, you've gone for Neom at Watford and Mbemba at Newcastle, like 2 defenders who, it certainly wouldn't cross the average DFS player's mind as like first picks. What was it about those guys that you made you select them?
I decided to go heavy on interceptions and tackles. I've been looking into those, and I saw that Neom is second in the league in interceptions, and Mbemba is 6th, while they are both also tied for second in tackles. So I thought those are 2 players that are in good spots. Newcastle is playing against Stoke at home, and that made me wonder, okay, could they Stoke just had a good result in the League Cup against Chelsea, I believe, and it's my Chelsea team, lost to them, so it's a bit disappointing, but they're not going to be a team that's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on it, and I think that'll be an even matchup between Newcastle and Stoke. And so taking a defender from Newcastle who's at home, who gets lots of tackles and gets lots of interceptions, may actually be a good position. Neom is a good player because he pushes forward and he plays on the wing for Watford, and they're playing at home against West Ham.
David, let's bring you in a second there. What do you make of HESH'S selection strategy, particularly when it comes to the defence there?
Yeah, I'm just thinking. I mean, so you get basically, for example, like a clean sheet would get you 4 points. You would need like 8 1 tackles to equal a clean sheet.
So Mbemba, he averages about 3 tackles a game.
Okay.
And about 2.5 interceptions a game. And it's about the same for Neom. And Neom's also, I think that Mbemba has a chance at a clean sheet. So I don't think that they're far off in terms of what they can produce.
Yep. I
do agree with you. It's this was a bit of a riskier chance there. Obviously the safer shot is to go with the defender who's going to attack, and there just aren't a whole lot of those in the slate.
No, I agree with you. Yeah.
It's a weak slate to try to target those defenders.
Yeah. Especially
when you have your star teams like Arsenal and Leicester are on the road, and Manchester United's on the road.
Yeah.
And if Manchester United was on the road against anybody but Crystal Palace, I may have tried to target Darmian. And he's a good play, or I could have tried to target Monreal or Bellerin from Arsenal.
Right.
But with them on the road, I decided to stay away from them.
Well, you've also, there's also that hidden upside, presumably, in selecting players from, let's say, less fashionable teams like Newcastle and Watford, in that they're going to be less owned than a Bellerin or a Monreal. And if you're trying to differentiate yourself and make a run at the top spot, particularly in a big field GPP like we're encountering on Mondogo, then this is the sort of bold strategy that might yet make you a top competitor in the leaderboard this week.
I agree.
Yeah, I like it. I think what you're seeing here actually is perhaps the slight future of soccer DFS. And we noticed today that DraftKings have gone to an 11-man game as well. They've changed the stats provider to Opta, and they've put in a lot more scoring sort of type situations. People are now going to have to go back, rethink things. Also perhaps work a little harder than they have done in the past. It's not just a case of pick Leighton Baines.
Yeah.
And Diego Costa.
And you've won.
Yeah. I mean, I love seeing lineups like this.
Who's taking Diego Costa this year? He hasn't been good.
He's been useless this season. And as a Chelsea fan, you should know.
I'm a Chelsea fan. I'm just depressed right now.
Hesh, give us one sentence on your impression of Jose right now, or your interpretation of where things are under Jose right now.
Stop whining. Seriously, he needs to go out there and manage his team, and players need to go out there and play, and stop worrying about whether the referees are out to get them, or stop worrying about whether they're the underdog or the favorite. Just go out and play.
So a bit more boldness is required from Jose.
I think so. I think right now they go into games so afraid of conceding that and their defense is not good enough to keep the opponent from scoring. That as soon as they concede a goal, the players get depressed and they fall back and they stop playing to their potential.
David, any sympathy for Chelsea's predicament? I think I know the answer.
No.
I mean, try being a Partick Thistle or an Aberdeen fan. You don't get much sympathy from us.
I understand. I know I'm not going to get much sympathy about Chelsea not being good and only being ahead of I mean, right now they're probably only ahead of like 2 teams in the Premier League. They're on their way to relegation this right now.
Oh, and it's hilarious. No offense.
I know.
So we'll give the viewers and listeners a walkthrough of HESH'S team. Okay, so we've got Joe Hart in goals. As discussed, Neom Company and Mbemba at the back. Across the midfield, Kevin De Bruyne, Xerdan Shaqiri. We've got Sacco of Crystal Palace and Mahrez of Leicester. Then up top, we've got Jamie Vardy, Wilfred Bonney, and David, you've got a particular comment on potential bargain of the week, Martial.
Potential bargain of the week, Anthony Martial, absolutely £6 million. That is like $500,000 less than Mbemba and 1.4 million less than Neom.
Why is he so cheap?
Well, I think there's a risk with Martial a little bit. If you look at the way that Manchester United has been lining up, they've been putting Rooney back at the top striker spot and moving Martial back to the wing. So that decreases his effectiveness a little bit. I'm banking on the fact that they're going to want to put Martial back up top this week.
Yeah, I don't think he'll play up top, but I would still pick him.
I mean, it's $6 million.
Yeah.
You're paying 11. You're paying 11.1 for Mahrez and Sacco.
Exactly.
As midfielders, I mean, Martial, to be honest, could play wherever he wanted in the pitch at $6 million.
Oh yeah, no, at $6 million, it's a no-brainer. You have to take him.
He will be 100% owned.
Yeah,
he
will.
If he's not 100% owned, then people are not doing research. They're not looking at the slate.
Here's one for you, right? Who's going to be more owned, Martial or Wilfred Bonney? Given that Man City are at home to Norwich and Bonney has no competition for the central striker role, and Man U are away to Palace, but Martial is very cheap.
Is that for David?
That's for both of you.
Go ahead, David.
No one wants to answer.
Bonney will be higher owned.
I think I agree.
I agree too.
I agree.
David, I had a quick question. I know that you're a betting man. Did you happen to catch Norwich's odds for winning at the Etihad this week?
Yeah, so Norwich are just about a touch under 14-1.
Yeah. Oh, look at that! It's improved. Earlier this week, it was a touch above 14-1.
Okay, the money has come for them. What's that, 7% chance of winning?
Yeah, is there a 1 in 15 chance that Norwich win this game, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I always think there is. In a two-horse race, I always think there is.
I mean,
English Premier League.
they've got Bukhani in Bukhani, who's a very good forward, and they've got Redmond and Jarvis. And if they start Brady and Martin, they've got a team that can attack. And City has looked vulnerable in recent weeks. They've actually conceded some goals, so there is a risk there. And there's guys who can score.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, look at the City possible and definitely are injured list. You know, Aguero, Clichy, Delph, Sterling, Silva, Nasri, Fernandinho, and Zabaleta.
See, but you know what the problem with that is, David? That only tells half the picture, because if you look at their squad list,
I know.
There's A-listers all over. Aguero's not. That's a draw. You don't replace.
Yeah, but you replace Aguero with Bony, who can score with the best of them. Then
Bony. Yeah, of course. Like if it was Man City against Real Madrid, swapping out Aguero for Bony would be a massive deal. For Man City against Norwich, I mean, you're only dropping by a couple of pips in terms of quality.
I suppose. I mean, any of us would probably score 20 goals a season playing centre forward for Man City.
Yes, indeed. And by any of us, you mean certainly not me and you.
And not me.
I want to ask you this, right, Hesh? Who out of your 11 players, who is your star of the week? If you had to pick one guy who you think is just a banker to come through with a ton of points for you.
I had to pick one guy from this team. It may be De Bruyne. I think when I was building this team, De Bruyne was actually the first player on my sheet.
I wonder if De Bruyne might be highest owned of all the players. I know that's mental, right? Because he's 15.1 million, but
I think
can't see past him, can you? You just see his name.
Yeah. Well, you look if you sort all the players in all positions by price, I think De Bruyne is the most expensive.
Yeah. But he's worth every penny. I mean, what a player. Terrific.
Yeah. I mean, he's been great too. He's and on top of that, you look beyond, and the only player below him that I almost regret not taking over Bony is Dimitri Payet.
Yeah, you actually had Payet in your initial team that you then hastily withdrew.
Yeah, I had Payet in rather than Mahrez, and I had Albright, and I decided to go with Mahrez over Payet just for the correlation with Vardy, because if I thought that, and then I also remembered that Mondogoal does not include crosses, which lessens the importance of Albright for me.
Very good point. Yep, and a good insight into selection strategy there.
So if I was building this team on DraftKings, I would have put Albright in instead of Mahrez and gone with Payet. But on Mondogoal, Albright has very little weight for me. He's not a player that I will target consistently.
Perfect.
Yep.
And David, I'm going to ask you this one. Which player out of HESH'S lineup are you just not feeling there?
Shaqiri.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the one that I watched him for a while to see whether I would take him or not.
I know he's a kind of classy player. He could pop. You know what? His price is 7.9 million. He pops up with an assist or even scores. You've got your value probably out of him, and you can't have a team of stars.
The thing that I always think boosts Shaqiri, certainly in my selection strategy, which isn't particularly sophisticated, is that he takes all the set pieces, and Stoke are a massive threat, goal-scoring threat from set pieces.
I agree. That was a major contributor to him.
Serious assist potential there. All right, David, give me 5 words on HESH'S team. Sum it up for me.
Real good chance of redemption.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you.
All right, let's wrap this one up, guys. First of all, Hesh Hambazaza, just an absolute pleasure chatting with you. It always is, and I'm hoping we'll get you back before long, because you're always a delight to have on the podcast.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
And make sure you tip your barista on the way out.
I will do my best.
Brilliant.
David, thanks as always.
Thanks, Christy. Thanks for having me on Hesh. Thank you very much for being our star guest this week. And I'll be cheering you on like nobody's business to top the table come Saturday evening and getting rid of Christy from our site.
Oh, thanks very much. Okay, best of luck in the games, everybody. This is Christy Keenan with my guests Hesh Hambazaza and David Copeland for SuperLobby.com. Bye-bye.